Alrighty, hello physical science teachers. This is a quick training playlist to help you understand all the different components of our curriculum. I'm going to keep the videos short, break them up into parts, so that way if you feel confident about how to use one certain part, you can just skip ahead to a video where you might need some more assistance. And we're going to start off with the scope and sequence. The purpose of the scope and sequence, which you can see here on my screen, is really not your day-to-day or weekly planning. This is more big picture. It gives you a view of like what's coming up in the whole year and just enough information so that you know sort of where you're going and maybe help plan building connections across your whole year. So that's what this page is for. It's also your navigational way. If you need to jump across different units, right now on my video, you're not seeing that these are linked to the actual curriculum maps. That's just because I haven't completed them yet at the time of recording this. But by the time you're using it, those will have all links, just like this one, to the actual curriculum maps. So you can use this as a way to navigate to all of those. It's also a good way to get all of the standards looked at once. But everything that's available on this document will be also available within the actual curriculum apps. So don't feel like you have to come to these for something specific. They're also located within. Now, if you're thinking that the text is a bit too small and you'd like that a little bit larger, this is my one-page version, so that way you can see everything all at once. But there's also, if you come up here and double-click, there should be a link that, I haven't put that link in. If you double-click, there'll be a link that pops up and you can jump to the large print version, which is just basically a front and a back page. This is good for printing out because now that I've spread it across 2 pages, I'm able to make the fonts a little bit bigger. So we'll go ahead and use this one for the purpose of this video so you can see it a little bit better. Notice I didn't put the link here just yet, but obviously that'll be corrected by the time you watch this. So up at the top, already mentioned it, that's your way into our curriculum apps where there's more details for your lesson planning. Next up is your pacing. Do keep in mind that pacing is a suggested pacing guide. If you want to spend more time in forces in motion and less time in types of interaction, you can make that adjustment. You'll just have to figure out where to make cuts in that specific category. I'm hoping you guys actually like the pacing for this course because I do provide 2 weeks at the beginning just on scientific practices. The chapter that they have over this, I wouldn't suggest going through and trying to do all of them, but blend it in with the classroom culture, rules, and expectations. Pick a few of the activities from that chapter to start the students understanding what it means to be a scientist, what's this course about, and then that will be a good way to kick you off. And now this year, you won't be behind like we typically are. So I think this is going to really help with the pacing of this course. Coming down, you've got the essential questions, basically what are students going to be able to answer after they go through each chapter. So those could be useful. Again, you'll find those as you jump into the actual curriculum map. We have our proficiency scales. I'll show you a proficiency scale. These weren't created by me. These were here before me. I just know some teachers enjoyed using these for some of those objectives and kind of like staggering what's approaching, how do you start, how do you bring it up from a 2 to a 3, and that sort of stuff. They may not line up perfectly with each unit, but I've tried to place them as best I can. And again, I haven't touched them since they were made, but those are there if you like those. And then you got the actual standards that fall under each unit. What's really nice about what this new resource does is it mostly goes kind of in order. I obviously flip-flopped a little bit, but you'll notice this entire first unit is all standards in the PS2. And then this unit is all the standards in the PS3. This is all in PS4 and PS1. So I actually took their first few chapters, which is like sort of a chemistry course, and placed that at the end to match how we've been doing our physics first course, where we kind of prep up our chemistry students by doing the chemistry at the end. But so you can see how the standards are nicely grouped, and that's going to make this flow make a lot of sense, which is nice. If you're a standards-based teacher, which hopefully we're all trying and striving to be, these are also linked to the item specifications, which gives you a great breakdown of what the standard actually means. Luckily, this resource really tries to stick to the standard, so hopefully it's encompassing everything. But if you want to build out your own stuff, you can get more details on the standards by clicking that link. Next, you've got the guiding phenomena. Each chapter starts with the phenomena activity, and then as students learn throughout the chapter, they'll come back to that phenomena at the end. So like the first and last activities of a chapter are addressing this phenomena. Now the supporting skills one, I just made this one up because there wasn't a guiding phenomena for that chapter, but the rest comes straight from the resource. And I'll show you where those activities are in the actual curriculum maps. But just so that you kind of understand, they want you to introduce something to students, make them kind of wonder, like maybe I can explain bits of it, but then by the time you finish that chapter, they go like, I can explain that question, that phenomena at a much deeper level. And then lastly, at the bottom, you have assessments. Hopefully by the time this course launches for next year, we'll have the actual district quarter assessments available. I like trying to keep those the same year to year, but obviously this is a switch from our Physics First course. I'm going to try to keep a lot of the questions that were really good questions with visuals that still tie into what the students are learning, but I will be adding in some new questions, and I try to pull those from the resource to keep it fair. So they'll be slightly modified from what we've been doing, but hopefully you just see them as an enhancement. And then from year to year, I hope those to remain constant, except for minor changes based off of teacher feedback. And then lastly, and this might be updated by the time the next semester rolls around in 2025. The state released these little practice testlets. So it's, instead of doing a full test, they're like 5 to 7 questions, but they only released some for K through 8. Hopefully they'll be releasing some for high school as well. And there is an optional physical science test that the state has. We don't ever take that test, but they do have a practice test for that course. And so what I did is I went through that practice test, which is a longer test, and I broke up all the questions, so all the questions on this testlet fit what the students would be learning in this unit. And then same thing on that testlet. So now you can do like these practice test lists for students like, hey, how would you do if you were taking the state test? And now students are going to be exposed to those type of questions, very standards-based questions. Feel free to steal the questions, maybe do them as exit tickets throughout, but there's an idea for how we can get the students practicing those Missouri type questions before they get to the biology course their junior year. And if you need the answer key, I've also linked to that there. So that's basically it for the scope and sequence. What we're going to do next time around is actually jump into this first curriculum map and look at the landing page. So I'm looking forward to sharing that video with you guys as well, and I will see you guys there. Thanks. Bye.